John, can I ask you a question a little bit off topic?
Yes.
If I were to tell you 2004 to 2020, so that's two Republican presidents, right? Bush and Trump. What is the most significant legislation that's passed? Like, forget the Supreme Court, forget raising the defense budget, forget that
ACA.
stuff, forget
ACA.
cutting taxes.
The ACA.
No, I'm talking about just Republican side. Sorry.
I don't. I
So
other
take
than
out the.
all the stuff you took out are the only things that they've done that's significant. I mean,
See, that's my point. So
it,
that's my point. It's like Democrats are able to do these really, really expansive things that help the country, push the country forward. Republicans always mess it up. And yet we continue to feel like it's both sides, like this whole both sides thing. It's really infuriating. So I want Biden to start taking more. I want him to start spiking the ball in a tasteful way more once he kind of has more victories. I think he did with the stimulus checks. I think he did with like opening the country. I think he's done that very good so far. And I hope that they continue to kind of do that.
yeah, and the stimulus checks were a huge, big deal.
Yeah.
It's a child tax credit, which it did two pieces. One, it first and foremost expanded it, but the more significant piece, and it's weird because sometimes I don't think wealthy people appreciate this, or even people who are moderately wealthy. The importance for lower income people, or even working class people, even lower middle class or middle class people, to actually have cash. It's great to get a tax refund or rebate at the end of the year, but sometimes you need that cash before then. It's great to get that, but all you're doing is telling me I owe you, $300 instead of $700. I think putting this cash in people's hands, it's going to have first and foremost a good effect on those individuals impacted. It's up to $3,600 a year per child, but in addition to that, it's also money that will also be going into the economy. So it helps folks. And there's a congresswoman named Rosa DeLauria who was the one who has championed and has worked on this for years and worked on it for not since COVID, but for years. And this is the difference, in my opinion, between what it means to be a Democrat and what it means to be a Republican. This is something that is going to help working families. And you know how we oftentimes talk about uh, sometimes these issues defund the police or don't defund the police, and we and those of us who are really involved in politics get really into it. It's these kitchen table issues
Mhm.
that the majority of Americans vote for. And that is going to be something that I'll be very fascinated to see. One, it was done for the right reason and legitimate reason, but you also know that in politics, everything you do both has a benefit or a or provides a liability to something you do. And I do think this will be a political asset. And I also think it's going to have a lot of people who were either not engaged in politics kind of interested, or people who maybe even supported the other side may care about this and want to keep this benefit going.
Yeah, and I'm also going to be paying attention to those Republicans who, once they get back in their districts, start taking credit for some of this stuff that they voted against, as we saw with the stimulus checks and the relief money. Yeah, everything you said, I kind of agree with wholeheartedly. Like that's what I was talking about. Spiking the ball is there's an article out there. I don't want to reference the wrong people who wrote it, but they were basically saying everybody in this country is always does better under a Democrat, whether you're poor, whether you're rich, a business, a small business, a corporation. After the 4 years or after the two terms, you're always better off under a Democrat. And we saw in 2016 with all those Trump pieces, Trump voter pieces, where they were saying, I'll never forget Jordan Klepper at those rallies. And the lady was saying, I know he's going to take away my health care and put me in a bad spot, but I just don't like Hillary. And we all kind of know what that was about, right? It was about race and racism and all that stuff and sexism and all that stuff. So it's interesting that these poor people who tend to vote Republican, or white poor people, I should say, who tend to vote Republican, knowing that the Democrats always help them better, yet they continue to come out and vote for Republicans. So that's what I mean by spiking the ball. If he could come out and say, look what we're doing and look what the Republicans can't do, and they're all voting against it, I hope that could get us more victories here upcoming at the midterms.